The Comanche warriors crested the hill at dawn, their war cries splitting the morning air as they thundered toward the elderly black woman's farm. 12 riders strong, they expected easy prey. Cordelia Washington dropped her chicken feed bucket. The grain scattered across the dirt like spilled stars. Her weathered hands trembled as she stumbled toward the cabin, gray hair wild beneath her faded head wrap. The warriors whooped louder, victory songs already forming in their throats. Standing Bear led the charge, his paint horse's hooves drumming against the hardpan earth. Behind him rode Swift Arrow, eager for the kill. The old woman looked helpless. Alone, perfect, Cordelia reached the woodpile. Her stumbling stopped. The transformation happened in a heartbeat. Her trembling ceased. Her back straightened. Muscle memory older than her gray hair took command. She dove behind the logs with military precision. Her hands found the Sharp's rifle hidden beneath the tarp. The weapon gleamed like liquid death in the morning light. The charging warriors closed to 600 yards, 500, 400. Cordelia's world narrowed to the rifle's sight. Wind speed, distance, target acquisition. Her breathing slowed to combat rhythm. She fired once. Swift Arrow's rifle exploded in his hands. The impact sent him tumbling from his horse, weapon destroyed, fingers numbed but intact. He hit the ground hard, rolling in the dust. The war cries died. Standing Bear raised his fist. The charge halted. Horses snorted and stamped, sensing their riders' sudden uncertainty. Silence stretched across the prairie like a held breath. The morning sun climbed higher, casting long shadows from the woodpile where Cordelia waited. Standing Bear studied the cabin. The impossible shot echoed in his mind. 600 yards. Moving target, perfect accuracy, no luck involved. Swift Arrow struggled to his feet, cradling his stinging hands. His eyes burned with humiliation. The other warriors shifted uneasily in their saddles. Cordelia remained motionless behind the logs, the Sharp's rifle steady in her grasp. She could feel their confusion radiating across the distance. This was no ordinary raid anymore. Standing Bear dismounted. His moccasins touched earth softly. He raised both hands, palms forward. Not surrender, recognition. The gesture spoke. Louder than words. This old woman was something beyond their expectations, something dangerous. Cordelia's finger rested on the trigger. Another shot could drop Standing Bear where he stood. The range was perfect, the target clear. She held her fire. The war chief's eyes found hers across the open ground. Two predators measuring each other. Respect flickered between them like heat lightning. Swift Arrow spat blood and dust. His voice carried sharp anger across the silence. She got lucky. One shot means nothing. Standing Bear never looked away from Cordelia. His weathered face remained stone calm. That was no luck. The other warriors murmured agreement. They had seen impossible shots before. This felt different, legendary. Cordelia shifted position behind the woodpile. The movement revealed her defensive preparations. Logs arranged for maximum cover. Clear sight lines in every direction. Water barrel within reach. This woman had been expecting trouble. Standing Bear signaled his warriors to fall back. They retreated beyond rifle range, forming a loose circle around the homestead. The siege had begun. Cordelia watched them position themselves, professional soldiers, not wild raiders. They moved with discipline, purpose. Her farm sat in the center of their ring like a bull's eye. Escape routes cut off. No help coming. The morning sun climbed higher. Heat began building in the cloudless sky. Cordelia's water barrel would last 2 days. Maybe 3 if she rationed carefully. Standing Bear settled into the shade of a mesquite tree. His warriors found their own positions, patient, waiting. Swift Arrow continued nursing his injured hands. His eyes never left the woodpile where Cordelia crouched. Revenge burned in his chest like swallowed fire. The standoff stretched taut as a bowstring. Cordelia's mind raced through possibilities. Rush the closest warrior. Try to break through. Their circle. Fight until ammunition ran out. All paths led to death. She had faced worse odds before, years ago, when she rode with different men under a different name, when her reputation struck fear into hearts across 3 territories. But that was another lifetime, another woman. Standing Bear rose from his position. His voice carried clearly across the open ground. "We can wait." The words held weight. Promise. Threat. Cordelia's response came swift and certain. She put another round through the air, close enough to Standing Bear's head that he felt the bullets wind. Message received. Distance maintained. The war chief smiled grimly. This old woman had fire left in her bones. The day would be interesting. Swift Arrow's anger boiled over. He grabbed a lance from another warrior. "Enough games. I will finish this." Standing Bear's command stopped him cold. "You will wait." The authority in his voice brooked no argument. Swift Arrow lowered the lance, seething. "Cordelia." Watched the exchange with growing understanding. Standing Bear led through wisdom, not rage. Swift Arrow followed emotion, not strategy. The dynamic revealed opportunities, fractures in their unity she might exploit. The sun reached its zenith. Heat shimmered off the prairie in dancing waves. Cordelia's water grew precious. Her ammunition counted. 12 warriors against 1 woman. Impossible odds. But impossible had never stopped her before. Standing Bear studied the cabin again. Something nagged at his memory. A story told around campfires. A legend whispered in the darkness. Deadeye Washington. The ghost sniper who rode with the Iron Covenant, his blood chilled. If the stories were true, they had not cornered prey. They had awakened something far more dangerous. The sun climbed higher. Heat pressed down on the prairie like a weight. Standing Bear tested Cordelia's defenses with careful probes. 2 warriors approached from the east. Cordelia's rifle spoke once. Dust kicked up between their horses' hooves. They retreated, understanding the message. Another pair tried the western approach. The sharps boomed again. A water barrel exploded 20 feet from their position. Clear warning. Exact intent. Standing Bear nodded with grudging respect. The woman knew her ranges. Every shot placed with surgical precision. Cordelia's farm revealed its secrets under pressure. Trenches dug at perfect angles. Stone barriers positioned for overlapping fields. A fire, water caches hidden in strategic spots. This was no simple homestead. It was a fortress. The morning stretched thin. Warriors circled at respectful distance. Cordelia conserved ammunition, choosing her shots with mathematical care. Standing Bear dismounted again. His voice carried across the dusty ground. "You fight well, grandmother." Cordelia's response came swift. A bullet whistled past his ear, close enough to part his hair. The war chief smiled grimly, still had fire in her bones. Swift Arrow spat into the dirt. His damaged hands throbbed with each heartbeat. "Stop talking to her. Kill her." Standing Bear's eyes never left the woodpile. Something stirred in his memory. A story his father told, a legend from the old days. "What is your name, grandmother?" Silence stretched across the battlefield. Cordelia's rifle barrel glinted in the sun. Her answer came not in words but in stillness, waiting. Standing Bear felt the pieces clicking together. The impossible accuracy, the fortress farm, the surgical precision of every shot. Deadeye Washington. The name hit the air like thunder. Cordelia's rifle never wavered, but her shoulders tensed. Recognition sparked between them. Swift Arrow's eyes widened. Even he knew that name. The ghost sniper who rode with the Iron Covenant. The legend who could kill at distances other men could barely see. Standing Bear's warriors shifted uneasily. Legends were supposed to stay buried. Cordelia's mind raced backward through time. 20 years since anyone spoke that name. 20 years since she hung up her guns and chose peace over violence. The memories came flooding back. Thomas Ironshield, her partner. Maria Santos, their tracker. Big Jim Crawford, their leader. The Iron Covenant. 4 souls bound by purpose and blood. All dead now, all except her. She remembered the last mission. The boy who looked too much like an outlaw. The shot that ended everything. The choice to walk away from killing forever. The prairie wind whispered through the mesquite. Dust devils danced in the distance. The sun climbed toward its merciless peak. Standing Bear studied Cordelia's position with new understanding. This woman had been death itself once. Now she tended chickens and grew corn. Why did you stop? The question hung between them like smoke. Cordelia's finger tightened on the trigger. She could end this conversation with one squeeze. Instead, she spoke. Her voice carried clear and strong across the open ground. Killed the wrong boy. 3 words. A lifetime of regret compressed into truth. Standing Bear felt the weight behind her admission. He had sons of his own. Understood the burden of necessary violence. The price of survival. His youngest warrior shifted restlessly behind him. Broken Wing, his own son. Barely 16 summers. Eager to prove himself in battle, the irony cut deep. Here they all were, fighting over scraps while the real enemy built fences and claimed the land itself. Cordelia watched the young warrior fidget in his saddle. Too young, too eager, too familiar. Her chest tightened. This boy would make the same mistakes, follow the same path, end up bleeding in the dirt for someone else's cause, just like the boy she killed. Standing There saw her focus shift to Broken Wing, saw the recognition in her eyes. The pain. My son, he said quietly. Cordelia's rifle drooped slightly. The weight of understanding pressed down on both of them. 2 parents. 2 children touched by violence. 2 souls carrying wounds that never healed. The sun reached its brutal peak. Heat shimmered off the hard pan earth. Sweat trickled down faces and stung eyes. Broken Wing urged his horse forward. His father's restraining gesture stopped him cold. I can take her, father. Standing Bear's voice carried steel. You will wait. The boy's frustration radiated like heat. Young warriors always thought they could outrun bullets, outlast legends, overcome the impossible through pure will. Cordelia remembered that feeling, the certainty of youth, the belief that speed and courage could conquer anything. She had been wrong then too. Swift Arrow pressed closer to Standing Bear. His voice dropped to urgent whisper. Legend or not, we have her trapped. Finish this. Standing Bear's gaze never left Cordelia. The woman behind the rifle had killed dozens, maybe hundreds. But she had also chosen to stop. That choice meant something. She retired her guns, he said finally. Swift Arrow's anger flared. Then she can die with them. The words carried across the open ground. Cordelia heard every syllable, understood the sentiment. Retirement was a luxury warriors rarely enjoyed. Death came for most long before they chose peace. But she had chosen. Walked away, built something different with her scarred hands. The farm represented everything she had tried to become. Not the killer she had been, but the woman she wanted to be. Standing Bear rose to his full height. Decision crystallized behind his dark eyes. What do you call yourself now, grandmother? Cordelia's response came without hesitation, clear, certain. Cordelia Washington. The name carried weight. Not the legend of Dead Eye, not the ghost of the Iron Covenant. Just a woman who grew corn and raised chickens and tried to forget the weight of her rifle. Standing Bear nodded once, Respect acknowledged. Truth recognized, but respect would not feed his people. Truth would not end their suffering. The siege continued. The sun climbed higher. The dance of death resumed its ancient rhythm. Cordelia counted her remaining ammunition. 15 rounds. Maybe 16 if she had miscounted earlier, not enough to win. Enough to make victory expensive. The prairie wind carried dust and memory. Somewhere in the distance, a hawk circled, waiting. The afternoon sun baked the earth to hardpan. Standing Bear settled deeper into the mesquite shade. His voice carried across the dusty ground. Your reputation reaches far, Cordelia Washington. She shifted behind the woodpile. The Sharp's rifle steady in weathered hands. Dead men tell no tales. Standing Bear smiled grimly, truth spoken plain. The Iron Covenant left few survivors to spread stories. My father lived. The words hung in the shimmering air. Cordelia's finger tightened on the trigger. Memory stirred in her chest like smoke. Where? Canyon de Chelly, 20 summers past. 3 men had him cornered. The Iron Covenant rode through. Cordelia remembered. The desperate fight. Thomas Iron Shield taking a bullet in the shoulder. Maria Santos tracking blood through red stone. Big Jim Crawford calling the retreat. 1 Comanche warrior saved. Barely worth the ammunition they spent. He spoke of you often, Standing Bear. Continued. The woman who could thread a needle at 500 yards. The praise sat heavy between them. Cordelia's past rode with ghosts now. All her brothers dead. All her sisters buried. Only she remained to carry their memory. Swift arrow spat into the dirt. His damaged hands burned with each heartbeat. Pretty. Words won't feed our children. Standing Bear's jaw tightened. The truth cut deep. His band numbered 40 souls. Half of them women and children. Winter had been cruel. Spring promised nothing better. The reservation held only broken promises, empty bellies, slow death by starvation. How many mouths? Cordelia asked. The question surprised Standing Bear. Enemies rarely cared about such things. Too many. Understanding passed between them. 2 leaders weighing impossible choices. 2 souls carrying burdens too heavy for 1 person. Cordelia remembered her own hunger, the plantation years. Empty plates and hollow stomachs. Freedom that came with its own price. Government promises taste like wind, she said. Standing Bear nodded. Bitter experience taught harsh lessons. Treaties meant nothing when bellies stayed empty. The sun climbed toward its cruel peak. Heat waves danced off the prairie in ghostly spirals. Sweat stung eyes and parched throats. Broken wings shifted restlessly in his saddle. Youth burned in his veins hotter than the sun overhead. Let me ride, father. End this. Standing Bear's voice carried stone authority. You will wait. The boy's frustration radiated outward. Young. Warriors always. Thought they could outrun death. Outlast legends. Overcome the impossible through pure courage. Cordelia watched the exchange. Saw herself 20 years younger. Eager. Reckless. Certain that speed could conquer anything. That certainty had cost her everything. He reminds you of someone, Standing Bear observed. Cordelia's throat tightened. The memory rose unbidden. A boy no older than Broken Wing, 16 summers. Blonde hair catching sunlight, gun in his trembling hands. She had thought. He was Jack Morrison, the killer they hunted. Same build, same coloring, same desperate stance. The shot was perfect, always was. Only afterward did they find the wanted poster in the real Morrison's pocket. Only then did they learn the boy's name, Timothy Fletcher, ranch hand. Wrong place. Wrong time, wrong grave. I killed a child, she said quietly. The admission hung in the air like gun smoke. Standing Bear felt the weight behind her words. Understood the burden she carried. In war, such things happen. Cordelia's laugh held no humor, bitter as alkali water, sharp as broken glass. Wasn't war, was murder. Standing Bear studied her carefully, saw the pain etched in the lines around her eyes. 20 years of guilt wearing grooves in her soul. You stopped hunting after that statement, not question. He could see the truth written in her posture, the careful way she held the rifle, the reluctance behind her precision. Hung up my guns, bought this land, learned to grow things instead of killing them. The transformation spoke to something deep in Standing Bear's chest. He had seen too much death, led too many raids, watched too many young warriors die for causes they barely understood. Peace held its own appeal. Swift Arrow's voice cut through the moment, hard, unforgiving. Pretty stories, we still need food. Standing Bear's eyes never left Cordelia. Two souls, recognizing kindred damage. Two warriors tired of fighting battles that solved nothing. There are other ways. Swift Arrow's anger flared. What other ways? The government gives us dust and empty promises. The soldiers hunt us like animals. The settlers steal our land piece by piece. The rage in his voice carried across the open ground. Cordelia heard every word, understood every sentiment. She had felt the same fury once, the same helpless anger at injustice, the same desire to strike back at a world that seemed designed to crush everything good. Anger burns hot, she called out, burns everything it touches. Swift Arrow wheeled his horse toward her voice. Easy words from someone with full belly. Cordelia's response came swift and sure. The Sharp's rifle spoke once. Dust exploded between Swift Arrow's horse's hooves. The animal reared. Swift Arrow fought to stay mounted. Fear and fury warred in his eyes. My belly stayed empty plenty, Cordelia said. Anger never filled it. Standing Bear raised his hand. Peace gesture, authority asserted. Enough. Swift Arrow's horse settled. The warrior's face burned with humiliation. Twice now the old woman had shown him up, made him look weak before. His brothers, the shame ate at him worse than hunger. Standing Bear dismounted, walked closer to Cordelia's position. Still beyond rifle range, but the gesture spoke volumes. The debt my father owed dies with me, he said. Cordelia understood. Honor demanded payment. Blood called for blood. The old laws held power even when hearts wanted mercy. Debts pass. To children, she replied. Your boy will carry it next. Both their eyes turned to Broken Wing. The young warrior sat straighter under their attention, pride and eagerness warring in his chest. Standing Bear felt the weight of legacy, the burden of teaching sons to be better than their fathers. Unless it ends here, he said quietly. The possibility hung between them, fragile as spun glass, precious as clean water. Cordelia counted her remaining ammunition, 14 rounds. Maybe 15, not enough to win, enough to make victory costly. The sun reached its merciless peak. Shadows shrank to nothing. Heat pressed down like the weight of heaven itself. Somewhere, in the distance, thunder rumbled. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon. Change was coming. The storm clouds built on the horizon. Thunder rolled across the prairie like distant cannon fire. The air grew thick with the promise of rain. Broken Wing could stand the waiting no longer. His father spoke of debts and honor while their people starved. Swift Arrow nursed wounded pride while children went hungry. The old woman held them all hostage with her rifle and her reputation. Enough. The young warrior spurred his horse forward. His father's shout followed him across the dusty ground. Broken Wing, stop. The boy pressed his mount harder. Youth and fury drove him toward the woodpile where Cordelia waited. His lance gleamed in the afternoon sun. Cordelia tracked his approach through her rifle sight. Steady breathing. Calculated range, perfect target. Her finger found. The trigger. The shot was hers. Clean, simple, final. The boy's face came into focus. 16 summers, maybe 17. Eyes bright with desperate courage. Timothy Fletcher's face superimposed itself over Broken Wing's features. Same youth. Same determination. Same tragic certainty. Cordelia's finger froze. The hesitation cost her. Broken Wing closed the distance. His horse leaped the outer trench. The boy raised his lance for the killing strike. The hidden rope caught his mount's front hooves. Physics took over. Horse and rider tumbled hard into the second defensive line. The young warrior's leg twisted beneath his falling mount. Bone met stone with a sickening crack. His scream split the air. The horse rolled clear, unhurt but panicked. Broken Wing lay trapped in the pit Cordelia had dug months ago. His leg bent at an impossible angle. Standing Bear's composure shattered. He sprinted toward his fallen son. Fatherhood conquered tactical thinking. Cordelia's rifle tracked him. Easy shot. The range was perfect. She held her fire. Standing Bear reached the pit's edge. His son writhed in pain below. Blood seeped from cuts where sharp stones had found flesh. "Father," Broken Wing gasped, "I cannot move my leg." Rage and anguish warred in Standing Bear's chest. His boy, his heir, broken by his own recklessness. Swift Arrow and the other warriors closed in. Their voices carried harsh anger across the battlefield. Kill her now. End this. She crippled the boy. Standing Bear's hand found his tomahawk. Justice demanded blood. Honor required vengeance. Cordelia emerged from behind the woodpile. The Sharp's rifle ready but not aimed. Her voice carried clear and strong. "I could have killed him." The simple truth stopped Standing Bear cold. She spoke fact, not boast. The shot had been hers. The choice had been mercy. "Why?" he asked. Cordelia's eyes found Broken Wing's pain-twisted face. Saw Timothy Fletcher bleeding in the dust. Felt 20 years of guilt pressing down on her shoulders. Too young to die for old men's wars. Standing Bear felt the weight behind her words. His son lay broken because of pride. Because of desperation. Because sometimes there were no good choices left. Thunder rolled closer. The storm advanced across the prairie with relentless purpose. Lightning split the darkening sky. Swift Arrow's patience snapped. He raised his rifle toward Cordelia's. Exposed position. Enough talking. Standing Bear's command cracked like a whip. "No." The two warriors faced each other. Authority challenged. Leadership questioned. "She hurt your son," Swift Arrow snarled. "My son hurt himself." The admission hung heavy in the charged air. Standing Bear acknowledged what every warrior knew but few admitted. Sometimes defeat came from within. More thunder. Closer now. The wind picked up, carrying dust and the scent of approaching rain. Then Swift Arrow pointed toward the eastern horizon. His voice carried new urgency. "Riders." Cordelia squinted through the heat haze. Dark shapes moved against the storm clouds. Too distant to count. Too organized to be anything but soldiers. "Cavalry," she said quietly. The word hit both camps like a physical blow. Everything changed in that instant. The siege became secondary. Survival took precedence. Standing Bear's mind raced through possibilities. If the soldiers found them here, fighting would be inevitable. His small band could not stand against. Trained cavalry, Cordelia faced the same mathematics. Bullets did not distinguish between Comanche warriors and legendary snipers. The soldiers would shoot first and sort bodies later. Swift Arrow's anger transformed into tactical calculation. Old enemies became temporary allies when bigger threats appeared. "How long?" Standing Bear asked. Cordelia studied the approaching riders. "Distance, speed, terrain. Hour, maybe less. Not enough time to extract Broken Wing safely. Not enough time to retreat beyond rifle range. The storm would hit before the cavalry arrived, but weather helped attackers more than defenders. Standing Bear knelt beside the pit where his son lay trapped. The boy's face had gone pale with shock. His leg needed immediate attention. "Can you move him?" Cordelia asked. The question surprised everyone. Enemies did not offer medical advice. Legends did not show concern for their victims. Standing Bear tested his son's injuries with gentle hands. The leg was broken, but not shattered. Painful but survivable with proper care. Not quickly. Cordelia counted her remaining ammunition, 13 rounds. The approaching cavalry numbered at least 20. Simple mathematics told the story. They were all dead unless something changed. The storm clouds opened. Rain began falling in fat drops that struck the earth like bullets. The air filled with the smell of wet dust and ozone. Lightning split the sky. Thunder followed instantly. The storm was directly overhead now, approaching faster than the cavalry. Standing Bear made his decision. He climbed down into the pit beside his son. Strong arms lifted broken wing despite the boy's cries of pain. "Help me," he called to his warriors. Swift Arrow hesitated. Helping meant exposing themselves to Cordelia's rifle. Trusting the enemy with their lives, Cordelia settled the matter. She walked forward, weapon lowered. Her voice carried over the rising wind. "Truce!" The word hung between them. Fragile as spider silk, precious as water in drought. Standing Bear met her eyes. Saw sincerity there, desperation, the recognition that they all faced the same enemy now. "Truce," he agreed. Swift Arrow's protest died in his throat. The cavalry. Riders grew larger on the horizon. The storm unleashed its fury in sheets of driving rain. Everything had changed. The siege was over. The real battle was about to begin. Rain hammered the prairie with increasing fury. Visibility dropped to mere yards. The approaching hoofbeats grew louder despite the storm's roar. Time was running out for all of them. Rain hammered the earth into mud. Lightning split the sky like rifle cracks. The approaching cavalry grew closer with each thunder roll. Cordelia's mind raced through possibilities. All paths led to bloodshed. All choices ended in death, except one. "Help me get him to the cabin," she said. Standing Bear stared at her through the driving rain. Water streamed down his weathered face. Trust did not come easily to men who had buried too many friends. "Why?" Cordelia's answer came simple and direct. "Because they will kill us all." Swift Arrow's protest cut through the storm. "We do not need her help." The approaching hoofbeats grew louder. 20 riders. Maybe more. Professional soldiers with modern weapons. Standing Bear lifted his son from the pit. Broken Wing's face twisted with pain. The boy's leg hung at an ugly angle. "We need her," Standing Bear said quietly. The admission cost him. Warriors did not beg enemies for mercy. Leaders did not show weakness before their men, but fathers did whatever their children required. Cordelia led them toward the cabin. Her movements were purposeful, certain, a plan forming in the storm-lashed darkness of her mind. "Listen carefully," she said. "This has to look real." Standing Bear's eyes narrowed. "What has to look real? My defeat." The words hung in the rain-soaked air. Swift Arrow's laughter held no humor. Bitter as alkali, sharp as broken glass. "You want us to pretend we won?" Cordelia's response came cold and factual. "You want your son to live? You want your people to reach the reservation? Then yes." Standing Bear felt the weight of impossible choices. Pride warred with pragmatism. Honor battled survival. His son moaned in his arms. Blood seeped through rain-soaked clothing. The decision made itself. "What do you need?" Cordelia's plan unfolded with military precision. Years of tactical thinking compressed into desperate strategy. Burn the cabin. Take what supplies you can carry. Leave me tied in the root cellar. Swift Arrow's suspicion flared. A trap. A chance, Cordelia corrected. The only one we have. Lightning illuminated the approaching riders. Closer now. Close enough to see individual horses, individual weapons. Time was running out. Standing Bear's warriors looked to him for guidance. Fear and uncertainty warred in their eyes. The storm had turned the prairie into a battlefield where visibility meant nothing. The cavalry finds you here. They shoot first, Cordelia continued. Find me gone. They assume I escaped. Find me captured. They let you right away. The logic was sound, brutal but practical. The kind of thinking that kept people alive when honor would get them killed. Standing Bear's jaw tightened. Leadership meant making choices other men could not bear. Do it. Swift Arrow's anger exploded. This is madness. This is survival, Standing Bear replied. The warriors moved with desperate efficiency. Some gathered supplies from Cordelia's stores. Others prepared the cabin for burning. Everyone understood the stakes. Cordelia disappeared into the root cellar. The space was cramped but dry. Shelves lined the walls, heavy with preserved food. Water barrels stood in the corners. She could survive here for days if necessary. Standing Bear followed her down. His son's weight made the descent difficult. Broken Wing's consciousness flickered in and out. Why? Standing Bear asked again. Cordelia's answer came from the darkness. Because I am tired of killing. The simple truth carried weight. Standing Bear understood the burden of violence. The cost of survival measured in blood and sleepless nights. The boy reminds you of someone. Statement, not question. He could hear the pain in her voice. 20 years of guilt compressed into silence. They all do now. Standing Bear felt the weight of her confession. Saw the woman beneath the legend. Recognized the humanity behind the reputation. My people will remember this. Cordelia's laugh held no humor. Your people need to forget this. Forget me. Forget Deadeye Washington. The name fell into darkness. Buried beneath earth and rain and the approaching sound of cavalry horses. Above them, Swift Arrow's voice carried through the storm. They are here. Standing Bear climbed toward the surface. His son's weight pressed against his chest. Fatherhood conquered everything else. Play your part, Cordelia whispered. The root cellar door closed above her. Darkness swallowed the legendary. Sniper, above ground, the deception began. Cordelia heard voices through the earth. Standing Bear's commands mixing with Swift Arrow's protests. The warriors played their roles with desperate conviction. Smoke began seeping through the floorboards. The cabin burned according to plan. Orange light flickered through cracks in the cellar door. Hoofbeats pounded closer. The cavalry had arrived. Cordelia pressed her ear to the earth above. Muffled voices. Shouted questions. The sound of negotiations conducted at gunpoint. Standing Bear's voice carried through the storm. Explaining their presence. Claiming victory. Displaying captured. Supplies as proof of conquest. The cavalry officer's response was suspicious but not hostile. Questions about the missing woman. Demands for explanations. Standing Bear's story held together. The old woman had fled during the storm, probably dead in the prairie. The cabin burned to deny her shelter. Reasonable lies wrapped in truth. The negotiations stretched longer. Cordelia counted heartbeats. In the darkness, each second brought them closer to safety or discovery. Finally, grudging acceptance. The cavalry would not pursue fleeing refugees in a storm. The Comanche could proceed to the reservation under escort. The plan was working. Cordelia heard the warriors mounting their horses. Standing Bear's voice calling orders. The sound of retreat executed with military precision. Then silence. Only the storm remained. She waited in the darkness. Hours passed. The rain continued its relentless assault on the earth above. Finally, when she was certain they were gone, Cordelia emerged from the root cellar. The cabin was ashen memory. Her farm lay in ruins, but everyone was alive. The storm was passing. Stars appeared between the clouds. In the distance, lightning flickered like dying gunfire. Standing Bear's band was riding toward the reservation. Toward safety. Toward a chance to rebuild their lives. Cordelia walked through the ashes of her home. 20 years of peace reduced to cinders, the price of choosing mercy over violence. She did not regret the cost. In the east, dawn approached. A new day. A new beginning. The legend of Deadeye Washington was truly buried now. Only Cordelia remained, a woman who chose life over death. Peace over war, it was enough. The morning after the storm dawned clear and cold. Cordelia stood in the ashes of her cabin, surveying the wreckage. 20 years of peaceful living reduced to charcoal and memory. The cavalry had returned at first light. Questions about the missing woman. Suspicions about the burned building. Cordelia played her part perfectly. A survivor. Traumatized, lucky to be alive. The soldiers accepted her. Story: Comanche raiders had attacked. She had hidden in the root cellar. The warriors had burned her home before fleeing into the storm. The commanding officer offered an escort to town, protection from further attacks. Cordelia declined politely. "This is my land," she said simply. The soldiers rode away, satisfied with their report. The frontier was dangerous. Settlers knew the risks. Cordelia watched them disappear over the horizon. When the dust settled, she began planning her reconstruction. The neighbors came within days. Word spread quickly about the attack. They brought lumber and nails, food and sympathy. Hands willing to work. "Miracle you survived," said Jacob Miller, her nearest neighbor. Cordelia nodded gravely. "God watches over fools and farmers." The rebuilding took weeks. The new cabin rose stronger than the old, better positioned, more defensible. The neighbors called it prudent planning. Cordelia knew. Better, she was still a warrior, just a different kind now. Summer came with blazing heat and precious rain. Cordelia's crops grew tall and green. Corn rustled in the prairie wind. Beans climbed toward the endless sky. Life resumed its quiet rhythm, but memory lingered. Every dawn brought thoughts of Standing Bear. Every sunset carried questions about broken wings, healing leg. Had they reached the reservation safely? Did the boy walk again? Would any of them remember the woman who chose mercy over vengeance? The questions had no answers. Only hope remained. Autumn painted the prairie in shades of gold and rust. Harvest time brought neighbors together, shared labor, shared meals. A community celebrating survival. Cordelia participated, but remained apart, friendly but distant. The legend of Deadeye Washington slept quietly in her chest. She preferred it that way. Winter arrived early and harsh. Snow covered the burned earth where her old cabin had stood. The new building stood strong against the howling wind. Cordelia spent the long nights mending clothes by lamplight. Her hands stayed busy with peaceful work, no weapons to clean, no ammunition to count. The Sharp's rifle hung above the fireplace, present but unused, a reminder of choices made and paths abandoned. Spring returned with gentle warmth and new growth. Green shoots pushed through the thawing earth. Life asserting itself after winter's death grip. Cordelia planted her garden with careful hands. Seeds that would become food. Roots that would anchor her to this place. The work felt different now. Purposeful in ways violence never had been. One morning in late spring, a rider appeared on the eastern horizon. Cordelia watched from her porch, coffee growing cold in her hands. The horse moved slowly. No urgency. No threat. As it drew closer, details emerged. A young Comanche woman, alone but unafraid. Something wrapped carefully in her arms. Cordelia's hand moved instinctively toward the rifle. Old habits died hard, but she left the weapon where it hung. The woman dismounted at the edge of the yard. Her eyes found Cordelia's face with careful respect. "You are the one called Cordelia Washington." Statement, not question. Recognition passed between them. "I am." The young woman approached slowly. Her bundle revealed itself as a blanket. Beautiful work. Intricate patterns woven in bright colors. "From Standing Bear," she said simply. "And from his son, who walks again." Cordelia's throat tightened. The gift represented more than gratitude. It spoke of honor, of debts acknowledged and respected. How do they fare? They live. They remember. They speak of the woman who chose mercy when she could have chosen death. The words carried weight. Stories would be told around fires. Children would learn of the legendary sniper who saved her enemies, but those stories would remain within the tribe. The outside world would never know. Cordelia accepted the blanket. With careful hands. The wool was soft, warm, made with skill and patience. "Tell them I am grateful." The young woman nodded. Her mission was complete. She mounted her horse and rode away without looking back. Cordelia watched until she disappeared over the horizon. Then she carried the blanket inside and spread it across her bed. That night, she slept better than she had in months. The seasons turned, years passed. Cordelia's farm prospered. Her reputation as a survivor grew. The story of her miraculous escape became local legend. No one suspected the truth. No one questioned the details. The woman who had been Deadeye Washington faded into memory. Only Cordelia remained, farmer, neighbor, keeper of quiet secrets. She aged gracefully, gray hair turning white, lines deepening around wise eyes, hands growing gnarled but never losing their strength. The Sharp's rifle gathered dust above the fireplace, a relic of violent times, a reminder of choices made and abandoned. On summer evenings, Cordelia sat on her porch and watched the sunset paint the prairie in shades of fire. The blanket from Standing Bear draped across her shoulders. Coffee cooling in her hands, the work of the day was finished. Crops tended, animals fed. The peaceful routine of a life well lived. Sometimes the wind carried echoes of the past. Gunshots, war cries, the thunder of horses charging across open ground. But those sounds came from memory now. Ghosts with no power to hurt. Cordelia had found something better than victory. She had found peace. The prairie stretched endlessly in all directions, empty of everything except possibility. Clean earth under infinite sky, a place where legends could die and women could live. It was enough, more than enough. It was everything. And that is all to the story, for now. Please let me know where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will create a story there. Consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. And if you enjoy our content, click this video on your screen. I promise you, it's worth watching. See you tomorrow.